Hey, boys and girls, weather report for May 31st, 2021. And Danny's micropenis is here.
Danny's micropenis has entered my back room.
What the fuck? hey, John, how you been?
I can't think of a better way to start the stream.
Yeah, right.
So,
Hey, John.
why are you calling me John? My name's Micropenis.
Oh, micropenis, that's right.
Fair
That's
enough.
Dr. Micropenis to you, sir.
Well, whatever. Micropenis. Like,
Wait a minute, Danny's not here, right?
no, not yet.
He's always here with us in our hearts and in our back rooms.
Yeah,
Yes.
I heard. I did hear that Danny liked it in the back room.
God damn it! Like, John, you missed Danny having like 50 soccer accounts once. That was fucking.
I heard all about it.
What the hell? I can't move anybody's icons for some reason.
Are we even live yet?
Yes.
Yeah, we're live. Yeah, we're live. Yeah.
Speed,
So-
did you see that thumbnail that Peter made of our stream?
Yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Because I've updated the stream with that. He told me I wasn't allowed to until he bullied you with it. But
Right.
yeah, I ended the stream and that was just the default thumbnail. I was like, this is amazing.
I'm trying to move my icon, and I'm having trouble. And I got a feeling it's because of this script I've got installed where I can mute everybody. Anyway,
Well,
I don't know why.
You can move everybody, so that's pretty cool.
I'm trying to put micropenis higher up so that the quotes don't cover.
You can turn the script off and then refresh and do what you need to do and then go back.
Yeah, I could do that.
Why would you want nothing's covering it up?
What's that?
I'm second from the bottom. I'm not being covered up.
I'm
Yes.
seeing people get moved.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's because I tried it after he said he couldn't do it, and so I'm
Yeah,
moving
you
stuff around.
you can probably do it. Put micropenis a little higher.
Yeah, make it more erect.
More erect. Yeah, the micropenis. Anyway, so I have a little video here that sort of explains why. Now, there's two parts to this. This explains why Danny is not on this channel, why he's been banned from the channel. And it also
wait a minute.
explains.
Wait, I got. Hold on. Foreskin. So wait a minute. So this is actually this is the stream you're going to talk about Danny.
Well, we talk about Danny pretty much all the time.
Yeah,
No,
right.
Because if this is the stream, you never gave me a heads up.
I know I didn't give you a heads up. I know, but no, this is just.
Is that on purpose?
No, I fucking forgot, John.
What was
I
he
mean,
in
he's
the
all
that
that
I
micro?
got.
God.
So
I
glad I
forgot
saw
micro.
it. All right.
Yeah, I forgot. But as soon as I saw you in chat, I remembered. You got to give me credit for that.
I get an email but no invite.
The invite is in the email.
Should be in the email.
Right.
I'll put it in the goddamn public chat. That way you have no excuse, Peter. You have no excuse at all.
Then that way maybe two people in chat will beat him in here and the room will be full.
Yeah, I know.
I love Peter. Peter is the greatest person ever.
Yes, he is. He's cool.
I'm Peter's son.
Yep.
Oh, I missed you, John.
Anyway, okay. So where's Peter? Peter's not here. Should I play this clip? It's 5 minutes long.
Yes, this
It's your
looks like it's
stream.
from
Go
a
ahead.
great channel. A great
yeah,
YouTube channel.
So,
Yeah,
so
it's from God. I can't remember the name of the channel.
real
Who's
quick,
AJ?
can I
Who's
ask
AJ?
can I ask one more question since I've been around a while? What's going on in the private chat? I just noticed that. Has that always done that? Like when someone leaves or comes in, it says that, or is that something you added, Speed?
It's
No,
a new
that's-
thing he added, I think. Yeah, it's Peter's script does that.
No, I don't think so. No, it's StreamYard added it recently, I think.
So
Because
it's something new, not new by you, but it's new by StreamYard. Okay.
New by
It's done that
StreamYard, I
as long as
believe.
I can
Yeah.
remember.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't
I
remember
mean,
that happening.
I've only been streaming for like 2 months, guys. So you'll have to.
Oh,
Well, I've only,
I-
I've only
I've
noticed
been
you doing
using
it here
StreamYard.
for today. I don't think I noticed it before on.
Oh my
our
god, it's the
version.
Mandela effect.
Well, no, and
Effect.
I've been streaming with StreamYard for over a year, so maybe you've been around ever since you've been around. They've been doing it, but I never saw it until today. And then I've been away
Yeah.
for a few months. So.
I'm a StreamYard Zoomer, but let's play this video
What are
because
we
it's from
talking
my
What
channel.
are we
So
talking
shut
about?
up.
What are
Peter,
we talking about? What's new?
we're talking
Well,
about
Peter,
how you always come in late and ask what we're talking about. That's what we were talking
I
No,
don't
about.
get
I
a link.
was mentioning the fact
I get
that
a, I
private
get an
chat.
email. I get an email saying thank you.
I guess you
and
didn't
no
like
link.
that sentence. I didn't like that sentence I started, huh, Peter?
The
No,
great Peter is talking.
what's that? Yeah, I was just mentioning the fact, Peter, that in the private chat, it now tells you when people arrive and leave.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the script.
Oh,
it's
I'm very
that's the
stupid. I've
script?
had the script running. That's why. Yes, I introduced Speed to your script, Peter, and he's very excited about being able to mute people now.
I guess
Oh,
that's
yes.
right.
AJ, that was me yesterday introducing Speed to the script.
Yeah, he sat down and we got it running.
Yes, but I told him about it.
Yeah, well, I knew
No,
about it
I shot him the script. I think
I know.
3 months ago.
Oh,
before you
okay.
before you were born, AJ. Before
Okay,
you were
fair
born.
enough.
Yeah,
But
Junior.
I was telling him about it. He was like, "What? What is this script that you speak of? I've never heard of this." That was in a direct quote from him.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
I
that on-
don't. I think you took that out of context.
Okay.
Okay, now hang on a second. Now everybody kind of settle down. Now I want to mention that number one. This
Danny's
is
not
what
here. I'm just going to say it. You're all stupid.
Peter.
You don't understand me.
Peter, I
You're
have a mute all button now. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
want to
you
know.
have.
I do. So anyway, what I wanted to set up is this is why Danny was banned from the channel. But this also is how Danny can get back on this channel. Number one, he has to apologize to Mark Reed, Peter, and AJ, Atheist Jr. And if he sincerely apologizes without a but, and then he changes his ways, and that means he doesn't do any of the things that you're about to hear. So
I don't know. I don't know what you mean by. I don't know what you mean by apologize, though.
I strongly disagree with that. Everyone who associates with people like Smokey, they're the lowest of the low. They're
Well, since I haven't been around a while, let me just say right now, if you, after knowing what Smokey has done, if you ever address Smokey in the fashion, I'm not going to mention any names, but if you ever address Smokey in this fashion, why, thank you so much for the pleasant conversation. You're fucking dead to me.
if you go on his channel, you shouldn't be considered worthy to talk to.
that's
Well,
a
Just
fact.
not my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, okay, John, I may need to ask you that off stage because I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, I know nothing about this person. I don't know who it is you guys are
Well,
talking
no,
about.
I'm assuming he's talking about something everyone knows, but maybe it's something else. But yeah, so don't worry. I haven't. Go ahead.
There's only one question, there's only one question you have, and the answer is no, Midnight. It's not you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
wow.
look. I've watched him, but I haven't gone in. Okay, I'm safe.
Play the video.
Okay.
You watched him, but you haven't gone in. That's a weird sexual thing.
Well played, Peter.
Admit at midnight, you would hate fuck Smokey, wouldn't you?
Okay, quiet. We'll pause this somewhere, but we're probably not going to pause it a lot. So, anyway.
Feelings, right? Now the question is, did I do something wrong?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
I don't see what if I did. If you think I did something wrong, then what is it that we disagree about?
It's what people have been telling you all the time, Danny.
Yeah, but
It's
I don't
what
know what you're talking about.
It's what I just said. It's what I just said, Danny.
That's you. That's a you problem, not an us problem.
Yeah, I still don't understand the disagreement.
No,
Like,
you don't.
it seems like you're being a dick for just being a dick.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Pretty
means.
much. Pretty
I don't
much.
know what that means. If all it means that I hurt your feelings, then yeah, I accept that. But I don't see. I think there's an open question of whether what I did should have been done.
Maybe do some self-reflection.
I don't know what that means.
No, you don't know what that means. So maybe you should learn
Why
what
does
that
he
means.
say
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Might
with
be
any of that, Peter.
insulting. No,
Jesus
I don't. I know
Christ.
you don't. So you lack empathy. You lack basic human skills.
Well, that doesn't follow.
You don't
Just because
care.
I'm okay with hurting your feelings doesn't mean that I can't understand what you're going through when I hurt your feelings. That's
No,
that's
no,
what we
it's
call
That's
equity.
literally exactly what it
In
means.
some cases, like in these cases, I hurt Atheist Jr.'s feelings, right? I don't take the blame for that. And if I hurt other people's feelings when I call them
wrong
as
with you?
ignorant or idiots,
Foreskin.
I don't
Foreskin.
take the blame for that either.
Foreskin.
Dannykins.
Oh,
Foreskin. Okay, so look, I would actually agree with him on that. People having hurt feelings is on the person who feels the feelings, okay? But when it comes to the introspection part, Peter is spot on. He is socially inept because he cannot force himself to engage in introspection. So as far as the bottom line of like, if you have hurt feelings over something, well, that's on the person who feels the hurt feelings.
Well, I hope you get in a car accident.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
wait, hold on.
Do you have
Wasn't
hurt
Peter?
feelings?
Excuse me?
I said I hope you're getting a car accident. Do you have hurt feelings that I said that?
No, not
If
really.
you do, then it's your fault. It's not my fault for saying that.
Okay. Everybody, calm. Okay.
I'm kidding.
I know you are, right? But it's just one of those things where, yeah. You know, somebody says, "Hey, midnight, you're an albino." Okay, cool. Like, do you have anything else? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I admit that the person, you know, that's what the. I'm not Danny at all. What the. I love Speed.
What the hell is that?
I love Speed's reaction. Just the fucking image. Like in Atheist Jr. is just going like.
I have no hurt feelings, but I do have one question that anybody in the room can answer, including AJ. Does AJ know my history?
No.
No, he
shit,
doesn't.
No, he
Okay.
doesn't.
No.
Okay,
He doesn't.
because
Yeah, you
because
wouldn't have said that.
It wouldn't be her feelings, but boy, that would be particularly dickish if you didn't know my history.
Yeah, no, he doesn't know
yeah,
your
no,
history,
yeah,
John.
If you think that I'm being a dick, that's your fault. You know, that's what you just said. So
No,
No.
AJ, there's something.
Thinking
There's something
someone's a
you
dick.
don't know.
Wait a minute.
You
Thinking
should-
someone
you
is a dick has no correlation with having hurt feelings.
No, AJ is just making the
I-
point
I-
that is,
I-
if you hurt somebody's
I take
feelings,
back what I said. I was just being facetious. And
No, I know, we know you were, but it would be, you know, it would be more fucked up if you knew John's backstory.
yeah, and we never
Yeah,
know
but-
people's backstories. So anyway, AJ was just trying to make the point that it's your fucking problem if you hurt somebody's feelings most of the time. I mean, there's no reason to be doing that. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's
I
play
would
our
agree.
clip. Really?
no, I mean, I disagree with what he was saying. Like, so
Oh,
you,
okay,
so you,
okay.
you
Yeah.
got it right.
And I disagree
I
with what
think
Steve
I
just
think you
said.
just proved that point.
Because here's the thing. Anybody could be a dick for saying something hurtful, but then if you feel hurt by it, that's a product of your own emotions. A person cannot imbue emotions on another person.
Yeah, but if a person knowingly
The
does it
point
to
of
you,
insulting someone, though.
John, everything depends on whether or not there's intent. And with Danny, there's intent. And when the moment that you pointed out that he is saying something that is hurtful, he will just say, "I don't know what that means." No, you don't.
Yeah, that's particularly dishonest.
Dick.
Yeah. Okay, can we play this, please?
Yeah, but it's real quick, just to put a pin in this. It's just like, okay, if someone says something, you know, and their intent, they're saying something they know could possibly hurt somebody's feelings, and then if the person, you know, calling out that person who said that, the person with the hurt feelings says, "I feel hurt by that," you know, it's in terms of them, of how they feel, and the other person may have had the intent of hurting that person's feelings, but if the person they're speaking to has the hurt feelings, it's a product of their own emotions, not the person who's being the dick.
We know that. I mean, if you were like a psychopath or you didn't care about other human beings at all, of course, nobody could hurt you. But anyway, okay, moving on. We're not going to get stuck in Danny minutia land.
You see stuff like that. That's just stupid, Peter. You should sit down and keep your mouth shut. I don't care, right? If y'all want to have the conversation on the basis of me calling people names, then just leave.
So you're just fine doing personal attacks on people?
Yes, I am. Yes.
All right,
so what are you going to do about it?
Then you're an absolute loser. That's what I think.
And just go away if you don't want. Why would you want to talk to a loser?
You go away.
Why would you want to talk to a loser? So sit down and shut up.
Hey, real quick. Sorry, foreskin. Just to say real quick. Right there's an example of everything you guys are talking about. Yeah, like he was addressing Peter, and instead of explaining why he thought Peter was wrong, instead he just goes the insult route. You're just stupid. Like, you know, like what the fuck? That epitomizes what Danny's about. Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to say something really quick. Maybe I mentioned this before, maybe not, but I tried telling Danny that the way he approaches conversations matters more than what he's saying. You know what I mean? I remember
exactly.
I remember Peter tried to explain that to him, and he just didn't get it as well.
The fucking problem with that whole clip is, like, I clipped it into 2 different videos, and one of them has just the stuff that's about natural selection, right? And that part, I think, is only about 15 minutes long, or maybe 20 at the most. And the whole stream was like over an hour. So it was mostly he made it almost impossible to have a rational conversation about the topic. And then all he did is complain that you guys didn't want to talk about the topic. And the fucking topic wasn't even natural selection. It was about, you owe me an apology, Danny. That was the fucking topic. But no,
I tried to explain this to Danny that and you can literally see it happen, that me and him were talking about both topics really, because, you know, at the beginning I tried to ask him and he rejected my offer, and then we went back to talking about the discussion, and then right when me and him were talking about something, and then Peter would try to bring up his point that was on topic, and Danny would insult him. And I said, Danny, you're the one derailing the stream, not anybody else.
Yeah. Over and over again, he derailed it, and then complained that it was being derailed. Okay, moving on. Not too much longer.
On a channel that you do not own.
No, it's not logical.
This is not the place where you can tell people to shut up.
Well, I just did. So what are you going to do about it, Peter? Kick me out? Mute me? What are you going to do? Nothing. Well, then just go away. Go away.
No, you go away.
I can go away. Real quick. That's fine. Y'all can kick me out.
How is somebody that is not the owner of the channel going to mute or kick you? That's all I want.
I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh at Dennis. He's trying so hard to act alpha. It's cute. It's funny.
Could we get through a minute before we foreskin next time?
All right, sorry.
You know, I mean, here's
I
the thing.
sincerely doubt it.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, okay, what, you know, we've talked about this before on other streams. Like, he is exceedingly brave behind his camera over the internet.
Oh yeah, yep. As we all are, I guess. Anyway, moving on now. Let's try to move on a little bit.
All right, sorry, I will mute.
Right, I'm not the owner of this channel. Here and I, then y'all can just kick me. Yeah,
So
just get over
you're
it and let's continue.
Intentionally being confrontational, and that's derailing the stream.
I don't care. You see, y'all don't want to move back on the railroad tracks, right? That's not mutually exclusive with wanting to talk about the argument. That's stupid too. Point. Don't interrupt me. Let me finish. Right? You don't know what you're talking about. Just let me finish. Okay? I'm about to show you that I do. Let me know when I can finish and I can educate you, little boy.
Yeah, mute him. Mute that arsehole. No, tends to be doesn't mean is.
I'm telling you what I meant with my words. I can't be wrong about how I'm using my terms. Be a charitable at least, right? I think being uncharitable is far worse than calling me. You don't understand? I can elucidate for you.
Come on to a child in the conversation, throwing out insults and
I'm not interested in the meta. Sorry. Let's move on. Sorry, I don't care. I don't care what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't care what you're saying. Why are you?
You do. You look at you're getting emotional.
Yeah, you're being an absolute.
Oh, you're a little crying baby.
Seems like it's overcomplicated.
I'm not interested in the meta. Listen.
Danny should read the abstract.
Well, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't care about the meta. Sorry, I just don't care.
I'm not interested in reading the evidence why you're wrong.
Don't care.
You're not interested in reading why you are wrong.
Are you so stupid to think that I didn't respond to you, that I didn't know what it meant? The question, dumbass. Yeah, I'm not. But the point is that Atheist Jr. knows what I meant. You did not, and that just points for him. Mine is just it comes off. This is boring. This is boring. Y'all are misunderstanding me. Y'all are misunderstanding me. Let me explain.
Based on
Peter, you should just learn not to participate when you shouldn't participate.
Danny, stop interrupting.
It's not. I mean, I'm not even listening to him. Right? It's not worth listening to. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Based on artificially using.
I'm not listening to you, Peter. You don't offer anything.
That's how we got to those vegetables.
You don't offer anything to the conversation, Peter. Sorry.
So when you say that you don't know
Very insightful, Peter. Okay, now moving on. I just took them to be like things in the world. Like you don't look. You look. Why does Peter talk about things that he has no clue? Like, look, that's called a tautology.
That is the process of natural selection.
You just uttered a tautology. I don't know what you mean by mechanism. I don't see what this has to do with the argument. Let's just stick to the argument. That the objection is the interesting part of what I'm saying. I'm just calling it's just a definite description.
How is an objection to a straw man interesting?
You can't even highlight the straw man, Peter. I don't know why you keep saying that.
Yeah, that's
all right. So look, check it out.
Thank you,
right where he said, there's a paper on the screen. Everybody was off to the side, and whoever's room this is that they're running, they had a paper on the screen, and somebody, maybe it was Peter, said, Danny, you need to read the abstract. And the first words out of Danny's mouth are, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah,
so he doesn't know what someone means when there's a paper on the screen and someone tells you need to read the abstract. That is just the most dishonest fucking thing. He uses that. It's almost like a fucking placeholder for him. Like where other people might go or or something like that. He says, I don't know what that means.
I just want to say I think it's so interesting that Danny says that I don't want to talk about the meta when the meta was literally the topic of the fucking video.
Right, the stream, right.
And what does that mean? Talk about the meta.
It means that him like us trying to wrangle Danny in and talk about his behavior, which was literally the topic of the video. But Speed, you missed out the one clip in that video that was my favorite, which was Mark Reed saying, "Wow, you are such a little man."
Oh yeah, I should have. Oh yeah,
it's all about winning and losing when it comes to discussions. But also, but also, I really like when Danny said, "Sit down, little boy." I was like, the only little boy in the room is you.
And Danny also got the whole reason that he got so like butthurt and pissed off at me was because I said that he can't be in the big boy stream earlier.
Wait, hold on. What did he say to offend you even before this stream? Because it wasn't the entire stream talking about.
It's what he was doing to Peter, telling him to sit down and that you don't know what you're talking about. He did that to me over and over and over again.
Oh look, Danny's here. How you doing, Danny? God damn it! That image just Peter, take that off, please.
I'm getting triggered.
You're confusing us.
You're confusing flashbacks.
I'm just so. Anyone else noticed that he looks like he's 12 in that?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so
that's why I say well, never mind. I won't go there. But
now I almost want to play the video I made. on stream.
Okay, so Atheist Jr.'s channel has the original video. I linked it in the description so that you can see everything, in context. But basically, what I clipped out is the part that really rocketed me out of bed at about midnight and made me make a decision I'm going to ban this little shit.
Wait. I just woke up. You were in bed with midnight? Midnight.
I knew he was gonna go there. I was waiting.
Peter's on fire today.
Where the hell's Peter's? Okay, hang on a second. Peter's gone.
I love this. I love this group. Have I mentioned that before?
Okay, so Andrew Cumming has a topic that he wants to talk about.
I mean,
oh Jesus fucking Christ! Andrew, please go cover your ears, Andrew.
No, he's not here. Where's Andrew?
He left because he didn't want to get into the drama part of this. So
it wasn't really drama. It was just talking about Danny. It was not drama.
We're just having fun. We're just
I'm
having
quite
fun.
Proud of my drama.
Yeah, I like the drama.
So Speed.
Yeah.
How was midnight anyway?
Hey, John.
Say he didn't make it to 1 a.m.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Well, I'm telling you. Joke's on you. I'm Tanya, not midnight. Who the fuck is midnight?
You'll always be midnight to me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will be. God damn it.
The moment you figure out to settle on one name, that might be helpful.
Okay, so Andrew wants to know if it's safe for him to join again. Are we?
Yes, it is safe, Danny. Sorry, Andrew. Okay, that was insulting to Andrew. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a Freudian slip. Right
yes,
there.
it was. Yes, it was.
Anyway, so I have a clip on natural selection, and I want to do a little more work. And I've been reading some things and figuring some things, and we have a lot to say about it. So we'll start that tomorrow.
I think people can see my shirt now.
Like, what is your shirt? I'm done peopling.
Show it again. Done people. Great. Okay, yeah, we're done peopling.
By the way, did you draw those things behind you?
Did I throw them behind me? No,
draw.
No, I didn't. They're from an art book on Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Oh, nice.
Somebody else draw them too. I was like, I'm not that good of an artist. I'm not like Erica, so.
You didn't draw them.
I figured I'd ask because I can't see what the fuck they are. Actually, no, never mind. Now that I look closer, there's Quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, I don't think anyone agrees with you, honestly.
Jay, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I know, Jay. Well, he doesn't have any content on his channel, so we can safely ignore Jay from now on.
He's irrelevant then.
He's irrelevant. There's no content on his channel at all.
Jesus Christ.
But Danny gave the most the strangest definition of natural selection or of a theory that I've ever heard in my life. It's something about a scientific theory, which is natural selection, which isn't a theory, has to ground counterfactuals.
Yeah, I got that clipped out in the second video, which I'm going to do tomorrow. So we'll get on.
Of course, I know what that means, but
Danny still thinks natural selection. So. Danny still thinks natural selection is a theory within the theory of evolution.
Yeah, he thinks it. Well, he thinks the theory. That is okay. The part I left in at the end was that Peter, you haven't identified the straw man. That is the straw man. That natural selection is the whole theory, and that.
The reason I didn't identify it back then is because we just went over that in 2 different other streams that it was a straw man. Dan came on your stream explaining how it was a straw man, and he wanted us to explain it again. Well, sorry, not going to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick. So wait a minute. So maybe I didn't pick up on this before. I've been around a while. So Danny distinguishes between evolution and naturalism?
And natural selection.
No, he insists that it's the theory of natural selection is how he presents it. instead of the theory of evolution by natural selection, which is now critics very early on wanted to call it the theory of mutation or variation and natural selection, and they wanted to emphasize the variation and the mutation. But there's a little bit of a fight going on between those two things, but nobody denies that natural selection is a mechanism. And the other thing we'll discuss tomorrow is his idea of what a mechanism is. Insulin is not a mechanism.
It's stupid.
Yeah,
well, then,
it's a molecule.
I'm kind of right then, because if he's trying to separate natural selection from evolution, then he is trying to say that naturalism is exclusive of evolution.
Well, I think there's a couple of places where he suggested that the theory of evolution should just be scrapped entirely, and we should just talk about, how organisms, the history of how organisms got to be the way they are.
But that's literally, wow.
Yeah, he says that biology is interesting. He would be interested in molecules and, the minutia, but he's not interested at all in the theory of evolution. So he's basically an evolutionist, evolution denying atheist, which is interesting. Puts him in a class all by.
Yeah, I don't believe he's an atheist. I think he's playing everybody.
That's a couple of people have that opinion.
Yeah, like this dumbass above me, Speed.
Yeah, the dumbass above him. Yeah,
not Danny, but you, Speed. You're the dumbass.
Yep, I know the reference.
Well,
I didn't want Danny to get his feelings hurt.
Yeah, I was sitting above Danny, and he was calling me a dumbass because I told him that I take him at his word that he's an atheist, but I have some doubts. That's what I did.
But if you take somebody at their word, you don't have doubts.
No, you can take somebody at their word, and you can, accept it, and yet there's a part of your mind that's going to stay alert. Stay alert.
You said something else, that he had like some deficiencies, or like I forget the word you used as an atheist.
Yeah, he was impaired with Christian thinking.
Like some impairments. Like he's developmentally disabled as an atheist.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I mean, Speed. Here's the thing. I remember when Danny first came around, and you were singing his praises like he was the best philosopher in the fucking world. How wrong you were! How wrong you were! I will never let you live that loud.
Well, if you watch the stream between me and Speed on my YouTube channel, I told Speed, hey, we all make horrible mistakes in our lives.
Yep.
Like a Jay Pasek says, if you're watching, Danny, if you're watching, are you kidding me? Danny is so obsessed with Speed. If he's not watching it live,
his pants are at his ankles.
He's not watching. If he's not watching live, he'll watch it at some point.
Yeah. So Jay, you don't want to be on this channel if you want to avoid hurting Danny's feelings.
Well, that will be his fault if he gets his feelings hurt.
It is his fault. Okay, guys. So Andrew, you wanted to talk about a different topic, so I think we should change our topic. Otherwise, we'll just get boring. Don't you think?
Guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. So I first I wanted to share a video. It's really short. It's like barely a minute. But it's more related to evolution and stuff like that. But I think it's really cool to watch. So let me share.
Okay. Sure. Foreskin.
What?
I said foreskin before you put the.
I haven't even shared the video yet.
That was a joke, sort of. Did you catch it? Did you get it?
Yeah. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a short animation of the evolution of the turtle shell, like going through the stages of it and the fossils of each intermediate stage. So if I can
make the video narrower, the whole window, so that it makes it higher.
How do I do that?
Make the whole window narrower. Yeah, I think that does it. There you go.
I suck at this. I'm sorry. All right. Is it good then?
It's good. Yeah. Roll it.
All right. Oh, darn. Oh well.
You do suck.
We're not hearing any words, Danny.
Oh, it is silent.
I'm sorry, Andrew.
Everyone has Danny on their mind today.
I'm not.
Wow.
Where's the rat that teaches it how to fight?
What's the time on this? Like, how many millions of years is this happening?
I think this happens in like 5 days. That's what Ken Hovind told me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to show that because I frequently hear this claim made by creationists that variation and mutations and stuff like that can't produce novel features. Well, it seems to me at least like turtle shell is a novel feature, and I'm pretty sure that we also know most of the genetics behind it. Like we measure things called is anyone familiar with the term heterochrony? Heterochrony.
Isn't that when you have like eyes of different color?
Explain it.
No,
So
that's
real quick though, before we move on, does anybody have an answer to my question?
Which one?
Like, what was the time frame of all that happening?
Let's see. Heterosaurus was around 250 million years ago, Permian. Odontocalus was Triassic, and Progonocalus was also Triassic. So I think it was pretty much completed sometime mid-Mesozoic era, I think. Yeah.
So 260 million years to where? Approximately 252. So how many million years is that?
So probably like 100 million years at most.
Okay. Yeah.
That
answer, John?
What's that?
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm just perplexed as how something happened over 100 million years time in the time span of only 6,000 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. So basically, for anyone watching, there's this term in developmental biology called heterochrony, which is what it sounds like, hetero, different, chrony, time. It refers to differences in the rate or timing of developmental events in the in the genome, basically, that lead to differences in the pathway such that organs develop differently. So like
what are
individual
the three different classes? Heterochrony, heteromorphy, is it?
I think it's heterochrony, heterotopy, which is spatial differentiation, and heterometry, which is differences in the amount of expression. I think I'm not quite sure the difference between that and heterochrony, but
that would be how much is expressed.
Yeah. So it's basically time, spatial, and amount of expression.
Yeah.
In terms, it's all in terms of expression.
Nice. That is interesting.
Yeah. So you can think of the embryo basically as like this spatio-temporal thing of Play-Doh that's being molded over time.
I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, we are temporal beings at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's it's like a space-time thing. So it has four dimensions, and there are basically signals along those four dimensions. And heterochrony would be along the time dimension that the signals change. And
it is. I find, if I can speak for a minute, I find it amazing how much physics plays a part in our lives, even without us realizing it.
Yeah.
Like, just wow.
Yeah. I also find it interesting how these heterochronic changes probably make up a large portion of the variation that we see in natural populations today. So when creationists say, "Oh, you can't get a turtle shell, for instance." Well, there's your answer. Oh, thanks, Pete.
I think something else interesting about this, I don't know if I'm wording this the right way, but I think it was on the Galapagos Islands where they studied how natural selection led certain turtles to be able to have a sort of hole above their neck in their shells to be able to reach higher plants and stuff like that. And then the turtles that couldn't do that died out or something like that. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Or am I just full of shit? You know what I'm referring
Yeah,
to?
I mean,
you're
that.
full of shit, but you're probably onto something.
Wow.
My feelings
I'm
are
just
hurt,
playing.
sir.
Come on, I'm just playing with you.
Well, it's now that you bring up Galapagos turtles, you also have to think about the finches there, because I think there has actually been studies done on the on bone morphogenic proteins, I think they're called. Basically, you increase the time and the amount that it's expressed for, and you get a wider, shorter beak. Whereas if you decrease the time, I think you get a narrower, smaller beak, basically. So it's now of course creationists are going to go up there and say, well, it's still just beak shape and all of that. Well,
I saw. I've seen Kent
those
Hovind
same
talk about
processes
this.
led to the turtle shell we just saw. Oh,
Yeah, I've seen Kent Hovind talk about like the research that the Leakeys did on the Galapagos finches, where they published they did a 10-year study there, where they showed that the thickness and the thinness fluctuated on the beaks of the finches. And Kent Hovind's objection to this would be like, oh, well, it only increased by 1/10 of a millimeter. But what he's not paying attention to is the fact that it's consistently, if you look at the graph, it shows that during the wet years and dry years, compared to that, it would go thinner and thicker and thinner and thicker by the same amount. But my question to him would be, okay, so this isn't evidence of evolution because, oh, it only increased by this much of a millimeter. How much would it have to increase for it to be evidence? You know?
As far as I can tell, it would basically have to be wings growing out of their backs.
Yeah. Well, what Kent wants is he wants a dog to give birth to a lizard, or something like that.
Yes.
That's
or I've literally heard him say like a single-celled amoeba grow legs or wings.
Funny enough, I've got the follow-up of the turtle video from a creationist website, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, I think I meant tortoises, but I'm not sure.
Speed, can you make me full screen?
I can.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Because what happened was we had the fall, and obviously we know that after the fall we all just wanted to sin. So here's the follow-up of the turtle video, and we can see that. Just saying.
Oh, Peter. Andrew's going to leave again. Andrew's going to leave again.
Wait a minute. Was that a turtle having sex with a croc?
Yeah.
Damn it! I missed it.
A crocoturt.
Will that produce a crocoduck or a
turtocroc?
Dang it! We don't need no crocoducks now.
I think it's called a crocoturd.
I'm trying to reinforce phylogeny here, not show it.
It's going on my grill.
Where's King Crocoduck when you need him?
Okay.
Nobody knows King Crocoduck?
Yeah.
We don't.
Oh, Crocs. Okay. Okay.
I think I saw a question for me in the chat, but I can't. Or something about autophylogeny. Can that person clarify?
Where's that at? Let's see. True pagan mom. So how far back was it?
Let's see.
What is the difference in autophylogeny? Autophylogeny and living.
I haven't heard that term. Can you clarify, Crayo?
I think maybe he was making a facetious comment. I don't know. Living things phylogeny.
Phylogeny is phylogeny.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't he referring to the phylogeny with cars?
He may be. Oh, auto. Yeah. Okay. Autofile. Oh, there we go. Okay.
You know, he may be being confused too because, like way back when on Knox channel, we had a discussion about the phylogeny of the sandwich.
Oh.
So it's not just living things.
Ooh, sandwich phylogeny.
Oh yeah, I remember. Well, I remember. I wasn't there, but I remember that whole thing. The phylogeny of the sandwich sock account. What the fuck?
Wait, that was an account?
No, well, sock account, yes, was an account, but you know, sock. Never mind. Moving on.
Okay.
Who the hell is Evo Tard?
Danny? I don't know.
No, Evotard has been around quite a bit. That's
yeah, so has this degenerated into an animal porn channel? I don't know. Since one of the sex partners was a shoe, I would say not.
John, considering your name, you've got the wrong profile picture. You need to have this. Yeah, you need to have this one.
That's the closest picture I had that looks like a penis.
No, you have to have this one.
Oh my God. That's hot. That's hot.
You know, Andrew's going to quit coming to this channel, guys.
Yeah, right.
I just want to show you this one picture. I don't know if you
no freaking or pruning of any flowers or plants.
You see what's in my hand?
Who the fuck is that?
Hand?
A knife?
What's that?
Is that a knife?
In my hand?
Yeah.
No, it's a dandelion. It's basically a plant that I picked and pruned.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Jesus, man. Now I know why you only use headshots.
Yep. Yeah, the gut is getting pretty big.
Is it just me who can't help but focusing on the hair in that picture?
Oh yeah.
Lack thereof.
Yeah, my hair always. Yeah, you guys don't know, right?
Can you guys say Grandpa from the Munsters?
You're not a yeah.
God, I haven't watched that show in years. I love. I used to love that on like Nick at Night or whatever.
This is what happens when I listen to Danny. So
what the fuck?
Oh my God! What's that clown's name from The Simpsons?
Krusty.
Yeah, you look you
do
like Krusty's hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. There you go. There you go, guys. Yeah. No, I do that when I get pissed off at somebody. I just follow that. Anyway. Okay, moving on. Andrew.
So I did have another topic I wanted to talk about, if that's okay.
We do.
So, well, I guess on the other channel, Amy's channel, we did talk about consensus and things like that. But what I really wanted to get into is the reasons why consensus is not fallacious in terms of an argument from not ignorance. I almost said ignorance.
Argument from popularity.
Yeah, from popularity, from authority, basically. And this kind of gets into the whole idea about should we trust scientists and when to not trust scientists on certain topics and things like that, which, as you all probably know, creationists and pseudoscience groups in general use that quite a bit. And so I've gotten some new information on this from some people I've emailed. And basically, I think, I guess probably already know this, but I just wanted to share my thoughts on this because it's a pretty interesting topic.
And can I add something? Because this is an interesting topic, because there's the difference between just talking about a consensus among people and then talking about scientific consensus. Okay, because behind scientific consensus, there's a lot more than if just a group of people have a consensus on an idea. Because when it comes to scientific consensus, you have all these methodologies behind it that, they just don't get together in a room and have a few beers and agree on something. It has to go through this rigorous process before there is a consensus met, by the majority of the scientific community.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, and it consists of thousands of papers oftentimes, right? Which is where we can go drill into all the detail where the consensus came from. So I mean, it's more than, like you say, more than just a bunch of guys had a few beers together and, we're going to, this is what we're going to tell the public.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, saying this isn't some guys who agreed with each other. Scientists are some of the people who vehemently disagree and argue with each other the most.
Yes.
So to get these nerds to agree with each other, the data, I don't want to say it must be right, but it's likely that the consensus points to the right answer.
Right. Yeah. This is an argument. This is something that often gets, and this is actually the thing I want to talk about, which is basically an argument from authority or popularity is basically saying, this person says so, or these people say so, therefore it's right. That's that's fallacious. Whereas if you're saying, okay, this person says so, this other person says so, and they have the relevant expertise in the subject, so call this an argument from expertise in contrast, that's not fallacious because you're saying it's more likely to be right, not that it is necessarily right. Because they could be wrong. It's just the more people you bring into it, and the more expertise you bring into it, the less and less likely it is that there's going to be deviations, if that makes sense.
And that's another interesting point because, as I've heard many of you scientific-minded people on here say, or on other channels, all science is provisional. Most likely it's true. But there's a willingness to change things in science if new evidence comes out, as opposed to the other side that you mentioned, creationists, religious types. They won't give any ground. They don't hold the possibility that their viewpoint could be wrong. That's not part of their methodology.
But that kind of misses a point. Like if I'm going to design an electronic circuit to do something in some manufacturing process, the scientific consensus, about germanium and silicon crystals and transistors and electromagnetism is what I'm going to be using, right? So I'm relying on the scientific consensus. Now is that really subject to provision? I don't think so, because the damn thing works. I'm not saying that any particular scientific claim or theory is provisional. Of course, there are things in science that are absolutely true and aren't going to change anytime soon. But it's the willingness of the scientific community to take things provisionally. Exactly.
Yeah, it's one reason I say, and I like this kind of phrase that some people have given to me, which is basically science is authoritative, but it is not authoritarian. What that means is that it can give really good answers and on a particular subject, and sometimes those answers are, again, like you said, so strong that they are effectively true that we just, like, no one's going to jump out of a window to test gravity. But like, it's not authoritarian because it always asks typically asks itself, how could I be wrong? How would I know if I'm wrong? And this isn't exactly the same thing as falsifiability, because something doesn't necessarily have to be falsifiable for it to be a hypothesis. It just needs to be testable.
Well, one thing about science is, like, I don't know if you think like electromagnetism or even like the theory of matter. So we know like matter exists, but in science we say matter is made up of atoms, which are, and you have electrons and protons and neutrons, and you get down to an even smaller level of quarks and up downs and up quarks and down quarks, etc. But like once you get down to that really small level, we don't even know if our standard model is complete yet. So even the very base model of the most fundamental building blocks of our world, we might not fully know if that's correct yet, or if it's complete.
And just on top of what you just said, you left something, a big portion out there from all those particles and constituencies that you named. There's a whole lot of space too. You know, I mean, these things aren't on top of one another and connected. You know, like a solid matter, like any one of us. There's a lot of space in there too.
Right, and he just mentioned gravity. Well, we know that there are problems in general relativity because in the math you get infinities, and we know that quantum mechanics and relativity aren't really connected yet. So there, you know, that's why I say, you know, things might be totally workable and usable, especially in the mathematics of quantum mechanics. But there's more work to be done, and more things to discover.
I think the problem is that they believe in God. Therefore, they think theories should also achieve godhood and explanatory power, which is never going to happen.
Well, they're not praying hard enough then. That's like what James Tour was saying in that video we were watching.
Wait, they actually say that?
Well, you remember the video we were watching of LPP and James Tour in the stream the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what they were saying.
Everybody knows the most important part of praying is the squinting. If you're not squinting correctly, the prayer won't work.
Hey guys, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go feed my dog, so be back in like 5 minutes.
Okay. Shall we wait? We'll pause.
Oh, should we just sit here silent till he comes back?
Yeah, let's just bow our heads and squint our eyes.
How about a moment of silence for Danny?
Good thought.
A moment of silence for Danny?
That means you have to mute everyone.
The demised.
Secular pagan mom just said to Stephanie, I'm confused. Yeah, that happens, pagan mom, when you read Stephanie.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about, Speed? Like with that video, he kept saying that like they were scientists aren't trying to discover God, so they're not finding new fundamentals in science.
Something
like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Snake was right in the chat.
Yep. So, let's see. What is the? Yeah. They were. I think they're like we're trying to discover fundamentals for God, but how the fuck? I think some people are actually trying to figure out how that might work. You know, new fundamental things about. Well, okay, the ideas. Basically, the people that are trying to prove ID are trying to figure out how they can define irreducible complexity so that they can make it mathematically sound so that we can prove that there is such a thing as irreducible complexity, right? And they have failed so far. But I don't believe that people are not trying. I mean, if somebody could come up with a slam dunk proof of a mathematical theorem that showed irreducible complexity is a real thing, they would have something. Or if they could show us one step of the abile process that is impossible. Absolutely. And not just improbable, impossible. They have to show that.
Given what Atheist Jr. was just saying a few moments ago, like there is really no irreducible complexity unless you're talking about those bottom line particles, some of which we haven't really even discovered yet. I mean, past the atomic, you know what I mean? Like, how can anything be irreducibly complex unless you are talking about basic particles at the level of everything?
Yeah, what is like irreducible complexity would have to show, like one of the things they would have to show is that there's some part that appeared in whole cloth without any other function at all or any other reason for it to be there. And to show that with a protein or with a nucleotide sequence is probably impossible. I mean, there probably is no such thing. There's always a possibility that some pseudogene is out there and it develops a function through a few mutations. And so their hill is a pretty hard hill to climb, yet they are trying. And I don't think it's for lack of trying that we.
What if it turns out at the bottom of it all, it's just like Legos?
Could be Legos, yeah. I've always, I have a whole theory of consciousness based on Legos. Anyway. Of course. I pretty much base everything on Legos. Legos are my god. But you know what?
Lego.
All those little junk Legos, those weird little parts that aren't exact blocks, I throw them away. I only keep the exact pure block Legos. So you can't.
The only time I've seen the face of God is when I stepped on a Lego.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! I saw that shit. Yeah, that's a bitch.
That's about the only time I ever talk to God. Is when I step on a Lego.
Do you talk to him, or are you like cursing him?
I shout at him, I guess. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair distinction.
Yep.
Okay, so Jay's in the chat, and for some reason, and could just be on my screen only, his last comment, his avatar is like almost invisible. Very, very much lighter.
No, I see it. I don't know.
Well, no, I'm saying his avatar. Oh, okay. Never mind. It was just my screen.
Oh, was it a boomer moment?
I don't
know. Fucking Milliweenies. Let's talk about Milliweenies.
That's what it was, Peter. That's the word I couldn't think of. It was Milliweenies.
You're a Milliweenie.
Yeah.
So Milliweenie, is that a synonym for micropenis?
Well,
no. I just like calling Speed a boomer, and then he calls me a millennial weenie.
Milliweenie.
Oh, okay.
It's Jay. Oh, wait a minute.
Jay Leno.
Yeah, we got him added down. We can both back off the fucking button, Scott.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Jay.
Button happy.
Jay is irrelevant. He has no channel anymore. There's no content. You don't exist.
There's one video up there. There's one video up there now.
Is there?
Yeah, there's one up there. I just did one yesterday.
Well, you're a newbie. Noob.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. All those hours of video content that are sitting there privately on my channel. Yep.
Can I take this opportunity to announce that my channel passed 25,000 views yesterday?
Ooh. Wow.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
How many computers do you have running in your house to achieve that?
1, 2, if you count my phone. My computer runs off of a hamster on a exercise wheel. That's what powers my laptop.
There you go.
So
put that little rodents to work.
So what do you need to get monetized on YouTube? Is it 500 or 1,000 subs?
1,000 subs, 4,000 watch hours in the past 365 days.
4,000 watch hours at 365.
Yeah, that's why Praise is angry.
I'm at about 2,000 in the past year.
Yeah, Praise is angry at YouTube because he hasn't been monetized by them yet because one of his channels has over like 11,000, but that one's been struck a few times, and then another one is like 1,400 subscribers, but I don't think he gets the watch hours on his channel.
My channel has equivalent views to his channel, and I've been streaming for about 2 months. So
yeah, you have more views than I do. You have more watch time than I do. I'm at 2.2K.
So 4,000 watch hours in a year. What does that equate to? That equates to like more than 10 hours watch time a day.
No, it's fair. It's not. Well, I haven't gotten there yet, but if you stream, and you're making long videos, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
like watch time is the easy part. The hard part is getting that many subs.
Yeah, Praise is doing something wrong if he hasn't been monetized yet.
Well, it's just because he has too many community guideline strikes, which is shocking when you have people saying the N-word on your channel all the time, that would happen.
Yeah. Your ego died, but you still are. I think Stephanie just threatened to kill me. That one is a trip. My God.
Yeah. Like a mysticism Buddhist thing.
Did you make Stephanie mad again today?
Yes.
Did you hurt her feelings?
No, don't go making Stephanie mad. She's
You're the only one that's ever you're the only one that's ever threatened her Buddhist chill.
That is her fault.
Wow.
Look
That's
at
amazing.
my icon.
He's the jokester.
Well, I guess that does say it pretty much.
Is she threatening to kill your ego or the whole
Your
thing?
your ego died. I'm just.
I thought ego
No,
death
never. See, it's real easy to just boop. She responded, laugh out loud. No, never.
Everybody knows that to kill your ego, all you have to do is snort a pound and a half of DMT.
Yeah, that's what I just. Ego death.
Or
Ego
lick
death.
a pack of certain frogs that you probably shouldn't have in the United States.
Death means heaven. How does death mean heaven?
Death means heaven. It kind of does. Anyway, it's a Buddhist thing. Just don't ask. Don't get us started.
Is she really a Buddhist? I'm surprised she. How can she even know she's a Buddhist? Because she repeatedly tells people that she doesn't know anything.
I know. Well, she doesn't know, and that is the best Buddhist.
Would a Buddhist say that? I think a
Yeah,
Buddhist would
exactly.
say
Yeah, that is the most Buddha of all. When you don't even know you're a Buddhist. When you're truly a Buddhist, you won't know it. Yeah, it's deep. It's pretty fucking
You're
deep.
a Buddhist and you know it. No, you're not.
Yeah,
You're a Buddhist and you know it. No, you're not.
It is
There
pretty
you go.
deep.
So
I
deep
rolled
it put
my
her back to
pants up after you said that.
It's so deep it put her butt to sleep. It's all right.
Where's our science leader, Andrew? Still feeding his dogs?
No, I returned like 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Well, how the fuck would we know that? Yeah, you're stuttering now. Yeah. You can't answer my question, can you? Damn evolutionist. Okay, carry on.
How many people does it take to feed a dog in your evolutionary worldview?
Half.
Okay, we were
one arm for one dog, the other arm for the other dog. Half a person.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sorry, did I interrupt a thought?
No, you didn't. I was asking you to go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I guess should I go back to the 40 thing? Because that's kind of what I wanted to talk about.
To the what? Authority. Yeah.
Okay. Have you guys heard of this? I think he attends lots of SFT streams. Redefine Living.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. So whenever I bring all this up about authority and consensus and things like that, his typical response is, if you're saying these people aren't qualified because they're not authorities or they're not experts, then don't you need to be an expert? Like how are you judging the expertise? And I guess wouldn't the answer be that I'm not, because I'm just a layperson, and what I'm doing is I'm trying to follow the consensus position, because it's kind of like that age-old example of you have 99 plumbers who say that your toilet is broken, and one plumber says that it's not broken, that's actually gremlins in the backyard. Who are you going to trust? I mean, obviously that's a silly example, but
how deep is the gremlin plumber guy's voice?
50 decibels.
I don't. I don't know how that, but anyway, I'm just saying
I don't know
that.
Well,
Preachers and them, the people listen to preachers and teachers because of their deep voice and they seem authoritative, but that's not what builds consensus.
The interesting thing is for like the average person, okay, knowing about believing in evolution. Okay, the average person who believes in evolution probably doesn't have all of the information necessary to completely justify that belief. Is that a fair statement? Or
yeah, like it's, you could potentially go into the field and figure it out for yourself and test everything, but like,
who's gonna do that?
No one has the time.
Right.
Like you don't live very long enough to do that, because the fields are just so nuanced and so specialized at this point. But also,
can I throw a stick in there and say that saying people who believe in evolution is the wrong thing to say? People who accept evolution, I'd go with that, because if
accept it.
I never use the term belief, because belief has connotations, it has baggage, and it's going to throw people off if you're going to use that term. You either accept it or you don't, but there's no belief involved, I think.
I use understand or understanding.
Well, you can accept it without understanding it.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, for me.
But if it's a belief, then it's up for grabs for the creationists to attack, because now it's just your belief.
Yeah, I have to watch what I say when I'm arguing with the creationists.
This is why they love to tell people that it's a religion, not even realizing that what they're doing right there is destabilizing their own position, because if it's a religion and the religion can be false, then yours can be false. That's what you just said.
It seems like some Christians think their religion isn't a religion, though.
I also brought this whole thing up to someone today, and they bring up a good point about, because I know I interact with these creationists, which is basically how there are these creation scientists, quote unquote, who might be scientists in their field and might do good research in their field, but like when you go to the lay creationists, and they reference one of these creation scientists and say, "Oh, this person says this, therefore it's true." When they say the same thing about us going to our experts, isn't that kind of a double standard?
We have data and actual methods that work.
Well, the SFT's channels bring on 2 or 3 experts a day now, creation experts, right? And they make a big thing of their credentials. And every time you listen to Sal Cordova talk, he's always, talking about their credentials before he brings them in and talks about them. Yeah. And even when he cherry picks a paper, he'll talk about the most renowned evolutionist in the field, and then he'll show a cherry pick quote, right?
Right.
So they're always doing authority.
Just because I'm nitpicky, can you define creation experts? Because
well, okay, it's a guy with a vest on that makes him look like a geologist, or a guy with a lab coat on.
Every single time I hear the word creation experts or creation scientist, the first question that pops up in my mind is, so how did God create? Explain.
How about when they bring up an atheist expert? I've heard that term.
Oh,
I love that one.
Yeah.
Even Darth, I think, says that. I've heard him say that a bunch of times.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Atheist expert. Yep.
Well, you guys just said about credentials. He goes on and on about a person's credentials. It's supposedly a creationist expert, and it's like, I guess you can have credentials, but not actually be credentialed. I guess is the way it works out.
I love the term that I've been called several times, which is you are a professional atheist. What the fuck is that?
Does that mean?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's what I meant.
I'm making that means that I'm making money off of saying I don't believe you. That's literally what that means.
Can
and
you
I
share my
wish I could
screen?
make money off of that.
Speaking of money, that actually gets into one last thing, which is basically when you hit on this argument from authority stuff, and you hit on how it's not the same as citing a scientific expert, you know what they're going to go to, which is that the scientific consensus is biased, because if they don't publish this kind of stuff, they're going to lose their paychecks.
Yeah, which isn't the case, and the best example of that is Mary Schweitzer, who was a young Earth creationist.
Right.
She used to be a young Earth creationist until she started working in paleontology, and so she published something, which is dinosaur soft tissue, which, according to the bias, shouldn't be published.
That's a
Hey,
good
can
point.
you share my screen?
I did. I'm looking at it. It's incredible. That makes so much sense.
I don't see it.
Yeah, is that the old banana shark? Just
Oh, there
below
we
the
go.
banana?
Yes, this is my new meme that I've created. I'm quite proud of it. So,
awesome.
Is that a phylogenetics reference?
Yeah.
So
we came from a banana.
Call it that. I mean,
Well, or like how we're related to
It's- it
bananas,
shows
therefore we came from
evolution.
bananas.
it shows the evolution of a four-legged tetrapod to a nanner.
Nanner.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I was looking in the wrong
Then-
direction. Sorry.
There should be one more level
Yes,
of that,
it
and it should
starts-
be.
It goes.
Oh my god!
Oh, okay.
There should be one more level to that, and it should be Ray Comfort holding a banana.
Yep. Yeah. Don't bring up my nanner. She was evil. Boy, quieted the room down.
Did we lose AJ?
We lost AJ.
Oh.
We lost AJ.
Yeah, we lost.
He decided to take his meme and go home.
He's in the back room right now.
He left with his meme.
He took his
just
meme and went home.
Well, he's too good for us now because he has so many views. So many
Oh.
viewing. Yeah.
Yes. See, I that's how slow my computer is. That my StreamYard died from sharing a meme.
Damn.
Well, you have to give kudos to Ray Comfort coming up with the banana argument that was obviously man-made. Also, the banana is the only plant that walks.
Huh?
Well, it makes sense. It has vestigial legs.
No, it walks. You can, if you don't believe me, just Google it. The banana plant. So when they plant those bananas, they keep in mind that the banana plant walks, so they will have room for them to walk.
What?
I'm not kidding. This is scientific fact. I didn't know this. I learned this a couple of years ago. Actually, banana plants walk.
Is this an argument from authority?
No, this is a fact.
This is an
Sounds like
argument
an
from
argument
bananas.
from the Onion.
You can
It's banana
Google
trees.
it. You can Google it. Banana plants walk. Not far, but they do walk.
I never heard of that.
Okay.
Well, did you know when you cut your finger that there are little cells that actually crawl across the wound? That's pretty fucking creepy, but that's how your wound heals.
Yep.
Yes, I have Googled it, and I thought bananas grew on trees, not banana plants. But
Well, that's what
apparently
I googled it as banana trees, and
Yeah, it's banana plants.
that banana trees can actually walk up to 40 centimeters during their life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's some pretty scary shit right there.
Yes. Is this a little shop of horrors situation? Like, do we need
It is.
The
do we need to do
little
something
shop
about
of
this?
horrors. So I've hacked into Speed security camera. The little shop of horror is what's going on outside of Speed's home right now. Have you checked Speed?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Andrew,
make me full screen. I hacked in on your camera so I can show people what's going on outside.
It's like a T-Rex. If you don't move, they can't see you.
Yeah, that's what's going on outside of Speed's home now.
Yeah, those raccoons are too skinny.
I'd see them do that. It's really cool.
They're too skinny for those to be Speed's raccoons.
Well, this raccoon has been crawling up on my fence every night by my window, and I have screws screwing the top fence, which is, I have a seal. Actually has a little buzzsaw and everything now. They got Home Depot cards out of my garbage. They got my old Home Depot card.
I really hope I hope the neighbors got some sort of video of you running around with a net going. "Arr, arr, arr."
Fortunately, I live in a pretty remote area, so my son has heard me though growling at the raccoons.
Have you seen the video where there's a bowl of cat food in the garage and the raccoons come up and grab handfuls of the cat food and then walk away on their hind legs like a person?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that video.
Those are cool.
Speed, you can take me off full screen again, or I'm going to show you Danny in a ball gag again.
Oh no, I'm working on. I'm working.
I got to tell you, I have not gotten tired of it yet.
Okay, there's a walking banana plant. If you saw that sucker coming up on you in the woods, that would scare the hell out of anybody.
Yeah, that would scare you.
Those are the vestigial legs that it has kept from the four-legged tetrapod, like I showed in my scientifically accurate meme.
Get the fuck out of here.
There's a reason they can only move 40 centimeters.
Okay, so Dessel wanted me to show this. Oh my God, what did he want me to show this? Do we want to get into this topic? Chrome tab.
Come with that large laser.
I just skimmed through it.
Yep. Only fitting that we reflect. Yeah, well, yeah. 1907 to 1939. That was before we got the lesson from Europe in the 1940s. Oh, did you see John Oliver, where his topic was local news, and apparently local news, they let people pay them to come on and they interview them like it's some brand new wonderful thing everybody should know about, but it's a paid advertisement and they don't tell anybody. So John Oliver he paid 3 news stations to put on this actress who was promoting this vagina expanding some fucking blanket, right? Which used some sort of electromagnetic forces, and 3 local news stations put them on.
Wait, I need to know this. Where does the vagina come into this? Because you lost me at that.
It's something to do with some sexual health thing. That if you wear this blanket, it has some effect on the vagina. I'm not sure what. I'd have to watch.
Is this something Gwyneth Paltrow is selling?
The first thing you said was a vagina. Why would any woman want to expand their vagina?
Well, I don't think it was expanding. It was like relaxing or improving the health, improving your sexual health. And she said the only side effect is that you can feel it tingle a little bit. And it was just a put on, right? But 3 local news stations fell for this and put them on. And
I bet this is going to be on sale on Goop within a
week.
Yeah,
exactly. But he created a fake website and he hired an actress to go in and pretend she was hawking, selling this product, right? And they fell for it. They fucking fell for it. And it only cost them like $2,400 for the ads on these local news stations. So maybe we should do that with something. What could we do? Walking bananas?
I've got footage of vagina weightlifting. We got that for a show that Scientist Mel did, so I can shoot you that.
Okay, so Dessel is using this as a comeback that we shouldn't trust authority, right? Dessel, I think you're missing the point.
I was watching scientist Mel about the science of internet, Charles. It was very interesting and informative.
Oh yeah.
I scroll down to the bottom, and basically they talk about how the lesson to be learned is that basically when scientific inference meets folk knowledge, or when it's based on folk knowledge, it should be subject to higher scrutiny, because it could lead to something like this, which I guess is what peer review is for.
Yeah, and we're not going to trust, we're not going to trust science to make certain decisions, I think. I think the government does that. And I'm pretty sure the government was involved in this shit, right? I don't think it was just scientists that decided to do this and got away with it.
Well, damn it, now I'm going to have to read another paper.
Yeah. Anyway, Dessel, you're completely missing the point.
If anything, I think this is the case of the government forcing them to do their research, not the scientists doing their research in order to have the government not force them, if that makes sense.
Wait a minute, is that a video game with raccoons in it in the upper right-hand corner?
Yep.
Huh.
That certainly is.
I'd like to have Dessel come here and we can argue about it.
There's a
It's
raccoon.
called Wanted Raccoon.
Oh, Dessel is always coming up with some contrary bullshit, like about Ellen Watts or Buddhism or what have you. Dessel just got to be Dessel, right? You got to be.
So, fellas,
Dessel,
I
you are
got
Dessel, man.
I gotta go. Say my goodbye.
Okay, John.
Just getting my feet wet, getting back into it here. So.
Okay, John. Thank you for showing up.
See you sometime soon.
Okay.
Great talking to you.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Oh man, against my better judgment, Dessel's in the stream.
I cannot find the
goat simulator.
paper. Is it in the private chat?
What?
That link to the paper, the one about the eugenics movement.
I'll put it in private chat. I'm not going to put it in public chat. I don't wanna.
I think Dessel put it in public chat. I just can't.
Oh, you did, yeah.
I've missed it, I think, or it's out of reach.
Yeah. So you don't think the government had anything to do with this eugenics bullshit?
I'm sure that they did. It just doesn't matter because the whole thing is that it was based on the science, on trusting the consensus. So, I mean, like, you can argue that the government had a hand, sure, based partially at least upon what the scientists are saying at the time. What you guys are doing is basically like turning the science community into a new priesthood when you do this. And yeah, I get that. I get that what you guys are trying to do. Hold on one second because I'm not done. So, like, first, when you're talking about trusting the consensus, because you point out how hard it is to actually get involved and like go through all of the material that you need to in order to come to know, the truth for yourself. Just because it's hard, that doesn't mean that you get to renege on the responsibility if your goal is to actually come to the truth and understand it. If you want, instead of asking the question like you did before, who do I trust, the gremlin person or the science person? It shouldn't be that question of who to trust. The question should be, how do I figure out what's true?
Yeah,
Well,
have I been given access to the right educational system that would help me to reason and form those thoughts based on reading it. I agree. You have to take responsibility for the shit.
But we're not talking here about what we should do about human beings and children and sexual mating or whatever. We're talking about basically the scientific consensus on evolution.
Well, the difference between scientists.
Wait a minute now, don't interrupt me.
Sorry.
Okay. The scientific consensus on evolution being true or false or whatever, or coming from a common descent, right? Okay, that has nothing to do with public policy and what we're going to do in hospitals or in two fetuses or whatever, right? So it's a very different thing. This is not suggesting that science is going to be an authority to tell us how to run our lives. It's an authority on what to say about science. Science is an authority on science.
So can you highlight Snake was right's last comment, please? I think it sums it up.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, scientists don't rape children like priests do, so that's a difference between them.
Yeah. Argument for
it's not a new priesthood.
The data properly, know the data best, therefore reasonable to trust.
I'm waiting on Snake's comment. I have something to say in response to Speed, but I'd like to see what Snake had to say too. Argument from expertise is just saying that those who study the data probably know the data best and therefore are reasonable to trust. But the problem there is that it doesn't take into consideration the question of bias. They can know the data perfectly well, better than anybody else. That doesn't mean that they're going to present it to other people accurately. So you have to ask.
The scientific method eliminates bias, though, or at least does a good job of it.
The scientific method will eliminate bias if you're following it, but the consensus does not have to express a legitimate application of the scientific method.
Well, let me ask you this:
that's how consensus emerges through.
Not always. If it's the case that the scientific consensus always emerges via a proper application of the scientific method, then we would be committed to agreeing with those eugenicists at the time, because their consensus must have been based upon proper presentation of the data, and they eliminated all their bias, right? Since that's how science always works, right? Since that's how the consensus always works.
Okay, so tell me what kind of bias is had by every scientist across the entire world? What kind of bias do they have?
There isn't just one bias. There will be all sorts of different biases depending on the subject matter, depending on whether or not a scientist has a particular pet theory that they really like. The idea that you can eliminate bias, in terms of forging coalitions of people who are saying, some particular thing, I think that's very naive when it comes to certain topics. There are certain other topics that, it has a lot less emotive aspect to it, to the point where the subject just doesn't produce strong emotions, and therefore bias in that with respect to that particular topic is no big deal. But then there are other issues that do elicit a strong emotive response, and to suggest that a scientific consensus that emerges with relation to those issues can be completely divorced from issues of bias, and we should just blindly trust whenever it happens, that's dangerous, because you end up with situations like the eugenics movement.
Well, you wanted a strong emotive response, that's why you chose eugenics.
If 99% of all scientists, agree with evolution across the entire world, across hundreds of thousands of papers, we're not talking about some little tiny theory, right? Like eugenics or whatever. We're talking about a massive part of science, a whole field of science. And if that opinion, that consensus represents all of those, don't you think the average person is justified in trusting them?
I think that the average person, if they really want to find out what's true, that the question of how many people believe in something is no indication of that. Rather, the average person, if what their interest is finding out what's true, then the only thing that matters to them is the actual data upon which that consensus is built, and whether or not that data legitimately leads to the conclusion that the consensus has reached. That's the only relevant factor. How many people?
It's experts.
How does the average person do this with evolution?
No bearing on its truth.
How does the average person do this with the topic of evolution? How does the average guy say he's a mechanic at Sam's Club? He installs tires for a living. How is he going to make a decision?
By applying the scientific method in his own life. So he goes on the scientific quest to gain understanding himself, and he does not leave the responsibility of coming to the conclusion that he's going to reach upon the basis of somebody else's vote, but only upon the basis of his own reasoning.
What if he's binge watching Breaking Bad? If he's binge watching Breaking Bad?
I'm sorry, I can't hear what everybody's saying.
Okay, if he's binge watching Breaking Bad, and he's working as a installing tires at Sam's Club during the day, how then does he how does he read all of this evolutionary literature in his spare time?
And how does he get rid of his bias?
So there are two things. The first thing is like, well, it depends. You have to make like an economic decision. What's more important to you, finding out the truth about this particular topic or watching Breaking Bad? And if you care more about Breaking Bad, then you're simply just not going to come to the conclusion that you wanted to reach upon any legitimate epistemic basis, and that's what you're going to be left with.
Okay, so then he decides, he weighs all those factors and he decides just to believe the scientific consensus. What's wrong with that?
The only thing that would be wrong with that from an epistemic perspective is that he hasn't actually arrived at any understanding or truth. He's just trusting somebody. If that's
what if he's never heard of an epistemic perspective?
So, well, no, isn't that like the whole question? The question is, should we believe in this conclusion? Like, should it be believed in? So or can we know that this is true? These are epistemic questions. You pursue it, by trying to gather data, evidence, and so on. And so,
He doesn't give a shit about any of that.
Well, if he doesn't care about any of that, then he's simply not engaged in learning the truth. He's just accepting what other people have to say.
So, can I say something?
Good up.
So I think this idea about because going through formal training isn't just involving gaining knowledge and gaining information. It's also gaining new ways of how to think, and lay people don't necessarily have those methods. So I think that that's true that consensus sure has been wrong in the past, but like if the experts in their relevant field say something, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% right, but it does mean that the claim that it's not right has to have an extraordinary amount of evidence to back it up, and that's always what's happened with consensuses in the past. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's right, just that's more likely to be right.
But see, again, like, you're making the claim that it's more likely, but upon the basis of what? A bunch of popularity votes, not upon the actual data. If you want to argue that it's more likely to be true because of the data, that's one thing, and we can agree, because the data actually does lead to a particular conclusion.
Who do you think finds the data? It's the experts. It's not just a popularity. It's not just people. It's the experts in the relevant fields, and these are the people who collect the data that you're talking about.
Right.
Yes. Exactly. The thing is, with respect to that, you don't just, as other scientists in that field, you don't necessarily trust that scientist's data. You check their data, you see whether or not they've collected it in an appropriate way. You also can check the field to see whether or not other scientists are producing contrary data and how they did so. And then you can perform an analysis to see, whose case is better and where the evidence is really leading and things like that. You don't need to trust them blindly in order to engage in these procedures.
That's what peer review is for.
Right, and the problem...
And again, okay, go ahead.
The problem is that, like you just said, lay people don't necessarily have access to those methods of peer review, so it's impossible to go through that process with virtually any claim or virtually all claims. So you have to trust someone at some point, otherwise society doesn't function anymore.
So there's a couple of things. The first thing is that, lay people not having certain kinds of thought strategies, like thinking about things in certain critical ways. But again, I mean, if the lay person, if their interest is pursuing the truth and figuring it out, then that is also part of the project that they have to engage in, is building their capacity to think about things in a critical light. That's another thing that is your responsibility if you're interested in learning about the truth. The other thing is, when you were talking about not having access to papers, I think that not having access to the data is a point that would have been more legitimate like hundreds of years ago, when lay people did not have ready access to so much ridiculous amounts of information that we have now. I myself am ultimately a layperson. I have absolutely no college degrees whatsoever, and yet I can get access to whatever papers essentially I want online, and
there's a paywall.
and engage in peer review. There's tons of papers that are available for free that aren't behind a paywall like that. And besides the fact that, if you want to get your hands on a paper, even if it is behind a paywall somewhere, usually there's someone, maybe even the researchers themselves, who are willing to share the paper with you.
Right. Well, we also have to get into the concept that how consensus emerges, because scientific consensus doesn't emerge by popular opinion. It emerges by independent look at the data, because the data doesn't speak for itself. No data speaks for itself. It has to be, I don't like to use the word interpreted, but it has to kind of be fished out, basically, from the raw data at hand. The conclusions, the inferred conclusions have to be properly sorted out. And in order to do that, you have to go through this peer review process, and you have to scrutinize each other, and the ideas that stand not necessarily are the correct ones, but those are the ones that emerge in terms of the consensus, and those are the ones that are reliable for the moment, that are the most reliable for the moment. Sorry.
You said that it doesn't emerge out of a popularity vote, but I mean, like, what is a consensus? It is a majority of the experts in a field. So it is quite literally like a popularity vote. It's just
sure, it's a popularity vote, but it doesn't emerge from popularity per se.
Well, it can or it can't, and that's the whole question. How does it actually relate to the data is the only relevant question to ask.
Because it's tied to the data.
Right, and it's the whole question about whether or not
the
whole question about whether or not the consensus is justified will be answered by that question of whether or not that consensus emerged properly in relation to the data, whether or not they're interpreting it correctly, whether or not they've gathered it in the right way, and so on, whether or not they've questioned certain assumptions that may be implicit in the way that they're going about things. And when you question that, if it's the case that they are following all those procedures accordingly, then the consensus is based on firm ground. But again, I mean, like, if your actual concern is to figure out the truth, that popularity vote has absolutely no bearing on whether or not the conclusion is true. The only thing that has bearing is the data that consensus is built on.
Well, I don't know if popularity is the right word, because you have Christian scientists who still think that evolution is true and that humans are apes. I think there's a lot of people who would rather not be grouped in with apes, but this isn't the opinion they wanted. This is the opinion that the data led to. And there are Christian scientists who publish, material that conflicts with their religion, and if that's not a bias, I don't know what is.
Sure. Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with that there are certain, but I mean, like, there also could be questions about the bias of certain theistic evolutionists as well, because they may have something going on in their own lives where they want to be able to synthesize these two views because of their own personal desires as it relates to both science and religion. So, I mean, like, I don't think that quite gets over the hurdle of bias.
That's why peer review and consensus in science is important, because it helps eliminate bias. That's the whole reason consensus emerges, because you're basically taking a shotgun and shooting out the flaws in the paper, and what's left standing is the consensus.
I think that it's true to point out that peer review is an important tool. I don't necessarily think that relates to how a consensus emerges, though. Again, I mean, like, how the actual arguments are going in peer review may not actually be reflected in how the consensus is formed if the consensus is not properly related to the data. But there was one last thing I wanted to get out here. Let me see here. I'm forgetting it right now. Maybe I'll remember it momentarily, but I'll just go at that point for the time being. If anybody has anything to come back with that.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the different scientific institutions around the world are mostly independent of one another. So why are they reaching the same conclusion? That's not necessarily doesn't mean that it's right. It just raises some suspicions, and it adds to the weight of it being most likely right.
Right.
It adds possibility.
The other thing is that oh shit, I lost my train of thought because.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, it wasn't you. It was Dessel.
Sorry. I did remember my other point, which was just that I think peer review is important. It's just that I also don't think that that's foolproof either. What was it, like maybe 13 years ago or something like that? There was the famous case of Paul Boghossian publishing those articles in a peer-reviewed journal, and the articles were literally meaningless. They said nothing whatsoever. They were deliberately crafted to be meaningless articles, and they passed peer review. Now, does that mean that peer review is totally inept as a process? No, I don't think so. But again, I mean, it just shows that you need to be very careful as an individual, if you're interested in the truth, not to blindly trust what's being thrown at you from any given source. You have to sort and filter your sources to check them out to see, you know, whether or not there are conflicting publications, you know, how these cases are actually built. You have a lot of work to do if you're interested in the truth. And if you're not interested in that and you want to blindly trust what somebody says, that's your own prerogative. But if you are interested in figuring out what the facts are, you have a lot of work to do, and there's simply no reneging on that responsibility because you only work through your own mind. You don't have access to anybody else's other than your own.
Okay, so when it comes to the periodic chart of elements, okay, if I want to know the truth, I shouldn't just accept that. I should go and look into the quantum states and all of that and figure all that out. Or should I just accept the periodic chart of elements and accept that helium and neon or neon and argon have something in common? Should I just accept that? Let's move it away from evolution, okay? Evolution is a really big subject like chemistry, right? No one is doubting chemistry at its core because it's a scientific consensus.
Overarching
it's a periodic chart.
So remember what I was talking about before, though, about how there are different topics that yield different emotive responses. So on a subject like, you know, what kind of minerals are on Earth that you can find, what are the different kinds of elements on Earth that you can find in space and stuff like that, this is not something that generally elicits a very strong emotive response. And so the problem of bias will be less with respect to that. So a person who, you know, starts learning about chemistry and the elements and stuff like that, and they are introduced to introductory courses, which introduces all this material. I think that because bias is such a non-factor in a lot of that, that you can trust in those situations that the data that's being presented to you is both reliable and has been interpreted correctly.
Okay, so for the subject of evolution, why is evolution an emotive topic? Why is it one of those things? Does it have something to do with religion?
Well, especially since even religious people accept it.
So why should we allow religion into this one field of science, and we're not allowing religion into chemistry or anywhere else? Why is it just this one thing? Why should religion basically be going against the scientific consensus and informing the average man, where it's not the case with chemistry? It's just evolution we're talking about. Because of religion. Because creationists have made it a topic.
Right. So the first thing is that I'm not, when I'm talking about consensus, I'm not advocating that we should introduce religion into it. I mean, that's basically just introducing more bias, which is the problem.
No, you just introduced it. You were talking about the emotive bias, right? Where does that come from? It certainly doesn't come from the average person. It comes from a religious bias. So that is the point.
Well, it can come from a religious bias. It can come from a political bias. It can come from a moral bias. It can come from so many different kinds of. No, I'm talking about. I'm not focusing my critique specifically on the theory of evolution. I'm talking about scientific consensus generally. So
pick another example then.
If you want to apply it to evolutionary biology, we can talk about that. And with respect to that, I think that there will be some bias in evolutionary biology because there are certain biologists who want it to be true. And so they will, there, you might expect with respect to that, that you'll see certain arguments published that aren't really that good. It might be like wishful thinking or connecting the dots in inappropriate ways from people who are led by a certain confirmation bias because of the emotive response they have toward evolutionary biology. Is that going to be, is evolutionary biology that much of a emotive topic, though, to everyone that I should expect bias to be rampant across the entire scientific community? I don't think so. I think that there will be very many people who can be level-headed about the question of evolutionary biology because the question of evolution won't have such a shattering effect on their worldview.
Well, I also think that we have to take into account in terms of how consensus emerges with independent lines of evidence, because I agree, if you were to talk about just one piece of evidence, there's going to be bias involved. But if you're talking about different lines of evidence from different fields all coming to the same conclusion, it seems it's not impossible that bias would be involved to make it wrong, but it's extraordinarily unlikely, and that's how consensus emerges.
So I would say that because the way that I understand it is that the data from all of these different fields legitimately points to these conclusions, I ultimately agree that that's like okay. But it nevertheless could be the case that, you know, the vast majority of scientists in a particular era of history have a strong bias towards some particular conclusion. And so therefore in multiple fields, you end up with this emerging consensus, you know, not based upon, not based upon the data being read in a correct way, but rather being pushed by scientists who have an agenda. I think that's entirely possible. I just don't think that it is what's going on in the case of evolutionary biology or the age of the earth or things like that. I think that at this point, after 150 plus years of building the case for this, that it's very clear that, you know, these conclusions are legit and they're not based purely on, you know, a scientist's wishful thinking, that the evidence genuinely does lead that way.
So you're in total agreement with us then?
I'm not in agreement when you guys talk about the scientific consensus that way, but I am in agreement with the conclusions that you guys reach about evolutionary biology and the age of the earth and things like that. I think that those are all facts. But nevertheless, to establish that upon the basis of blindly trusting a consensus doesn't sit well with me. I would rather go through the long, hard process of learning the facts to be able to come to my own competent conclusion.
Which is what we all do when it comes to little micro things like
not when you're watching Breaking Bad all day
or whatever. Well, if the question is should I get the vaccine or not, it pays to go out and do a little bit of reading on it if you have a question, right? It's important to you, and you're not just going to rely blindly on scientific consensus in that case, but in the case of overall topics like biology, evolution, chemistry, physics, semiconductors, you're going to trust the scientific consensus, and there's no reason why you shouldn't. And you've just confirmed that you trust it on evolution and on whether or not the earth is flat and all of that stuff. So and that's all we're talking about is evolution and the pushback on evolution. And the only place you're going to get into this fight is with religious people, with fundamentalist religious people, a very small minority. Right?
I should clarify that when it came to evolutionary biology, I didn't trust the consensus.
I didn't either.
Yeah, so like I went about my own investigation to see whether or not I thought it was a viable theory, and at the end of it, I turned out to say, yeah, it is. But no, in the beginning, when I was confronted by the scientific consensus for evolution, I did not put a blind trust in that. Instead, I took a highly skeptical route and started reading both cases that defended it and cases that criticized it to find
exactly as I did. But then I don't have a wife, so it wasn't a problem for me. So
Sure, and if somebody decides that having a life is more important than figuring out the truth about this particular topic, that's their own prerogative. For me, it was important to find out what I ultimately thought was sensible, what was a good theory when it came to biodiversity and the origins of extant organisms.
If we're saying,
go ahead. Go ahead, Andrew.
Or if we're basically saying that it's wrong to blindly trust certain theories because they're part of the consensus, I would agree with that. I would just point out that the fact that there is a consensus is itself evidence that you should trust it, if contingently, because it means that it is past rigorous scrutiny.
So if that's true, though, if you were living back there in 1907 to 1930, would you have supported the eugenics movement that was going on back then, that was widely believed in by the scientific community? Would you have been a eugenicist?
Wait, how wide was that? I mean, what do you mean?
Pretty wide. I've seen it discussed in multiple sources. This article that I linked you to discusses just how widely believed it was amongst the scientists of the time.
Well, what were some other things that were widely believed back then?
I think behaviorism was pretty hot back then. Look how that turned out too.
How did we treat black people in the United States? I don't know. I don't think the point lands today. It may have landed back then when people were just crawling out of their farms and becoming aware of all this. And I don't believe that a lot of scientists went along with this across the entire world. I mean, how many scientists actually were behind this shit?
This paper is focused, I believe, mostly on scientists in the United States. I believe that the same eugenics idea was also believed in widely in Europe at the time. So we're basically talking Western scientists from in the early 20th century, that many of them found eugenics perspective to be persuasive and what the conclusion that should be reached upon the basis of the data.
I bet my grandparents never heard of it.
I think that's a dissimilarity then, because if you compare the consensus of eugenics, it was more local and probably more biased because probably not all of them, but most of the people at that time would have had the same psychological and religious beliefs.
You would consider something that was widespread in the United States and Europe to be local, because I would consider that to be pretty global. It's not including
relatively local.
Relatively local. I mean, like that's two continents that you have there, and likewise in terms of like how much science is actually practiced. In terms of like the Western world and the Eastern world, you have North America, Europe, and Central Asia, doing a ton of the scientific research. So I mean, like you're talking at least like 50% of the geography that's mostly responsible for engagement in scientific practice.
Okay, guys. We're about to shoot it in the head.
So one thing, Grace, I just wanted to say. So basically, what you're saying is you take yourself and you're inserting yourself basically into the peer review process, basically, and the truth that you're going to come to is your own truth, really, not necessarily the truth, right?
So, I mean, it comes to the first problem I was ever introduced to in philosophy when I sat down in my first philosophy class. It's not like my introduction to philosophy, but when I first took a philosophy course at college, it was called the egocentric predicament, that you only have access to your own mind and you don't have access to anything else other than that. So whose reasoning do you ultimately have to rely on in order to develop a true understanding of things? And the answer to that is your own, because you don't have anybody else's. So again, I mean, like, if the question for you is, how can I find out what's true? How can I come to a justification of my beliefs of what are true. These are things that apply to you and to no one else. And so therefore, yes, it is your individual responsibility, if this is your interest, to pursue it this way.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes here. So I want everybody else to weigh in who hasn't talked. Peter, David, Scott. Any of you guys?
I mean, basically, that was my point. Is you're gonna come to your truth, and that's it. And is that always the smart? I mean, it may be the smart thing for yourself, but whether you come up with the correct answer or the absolute truth, myself, I would rather depend on or rely on experts in the field to analyze the data and come up with, for me anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when you read materials like that, of course, it's never good enough to just read one paper. You have to look at their sources and analyze: is this person's use of these sources, does it lead to the same conclusion, or did he step off the rails somewhere? And then I think it's a responsibility for a healthy society to make sure there is plenty of access and not make it hard on people to get access to the scientific data. It's a matter of education, and the best education for everybody. And then also, I guess one question, and I would have to do more digging on this, was there enough information out there for good-willed people to find to show that proponents of eugenics were going off the path? I mean, was there new information, new studies that had to be done to overturn it, or was there knowledge out there that could then be used to overturn it? If it's a matter of ethics, then were people motivated to act in an ethical way, or were they just using science to push their own social agenda, which they saw as the right thing to do? In other words, keep one race above another, and whether or not I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying that a lot of people thought it was right to do that. So, see what I mean? It's just a matter of did you have access to information that would overturn that consensus if you followed your critical reasoning correctly?
Peter?
Yeah, I don't think that going trying to make your own truth is a good thing to do. I don't think that if you're qualified in any field, that you should be even trying to figure out, because this is basically what the creationists will tell people. Well, teach the controversy and let the kids decide. Well, on what basis would they make an informed decision if they don't understand the topic? So,
yeah, that's a good point.
That would be my opinion on all of this.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot changed in science in our cultures, and I think science has gotten a hell of a lot better than it definitely was 100 years ago. We were in the dark ages, and we just climbed out. And I don't see, like, for most things like medical advice, I do go out and Google what's wrong with me and what the doctors are giving me. But the average person will just go with what their doctors do, and that's that I would consider a consensus. I don't see any problem with that, but we got to wrap up for the day, guys. But Andrew, you got a last comment?
I guess I would just say that in order to refute the consensus, you have to understand the consensus first.
Right.
In order to understand the consensus first, you have to trust it and see what it's saying. So I feel like either way, there's no getting around trusting the consensus when you don't have the information right in your hands. So
yeah. Let's give Dessel the last word here, and then I'm going to end. Okay.
Thanks. I can at least agree that if you're going to evaluate the consensus, you have to understand what it's saying first. I would hesitate to say that that involves trusting them per se. It's just simply, you know, seeing what they are saying, you know, interpreting what they have to say correctly, examining the data that they have to offer, and seeing how it relates to their conclusions and stuff like that. I can agree that, you know, insofar as you want to evaluate that consensus, you at least first, of course, need to understand what it's saying. I can agree that much.
Okay, so we're out for the day, guys.